We're starting out with a controversial opinion.
Yeah, because I don't understand.
You're in charge of music.
Oh, I got it. Cascade.
Yeah, probably just overthinking it.
It's gonna evolve.
This mug I have. This
Wow.
little. This little. This little.
Edit away. Bye bye. Be gone.
Yeah.
I did it. Look what I bought. Pretty sick.
Well, I guess I should just say it. And if it sucks, it sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know why I say it. Welcome to the collab. I am your host, Daniel Mendonça, and I'm here with my co-host, Sabrina Pontoni. Sabrina, it's episode 1 of the collab. This is our show now. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Move over, Scott. The diva is in. I'm doing good. I'm really excited to start this. I'm not nervous. I thought I was going to be nervous, but apparently the caffeine has entered my system and I'm ready for today. I'm pumped.
Just a couple Celsius early in the morning and get your blood boiling.
Yep,
Perfect.
I'm excited.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm the nervous one here, but maybe it's just because we finally got the monkey off our back. That was Scott. It was dragging us down, and now we're here to shine. But on the topic of the collab, I'm really excited to get this and obviously talk about stuff that's both passionate to you and I. Just for those who may be new listeners or hopping in for the first time and have no idea what we're referring to and who the heck Scott is. The collab is all about modern marketing. It's about brand. It's about brand advocacy, and it's about influencers and the way we do things, or the way marketing looks like, in 2022 and beyond. And that's something that is an ultra passion of Sabrina and I. So we decided, why not get on the mics, talk about it a little bit, and also how it relates to our day jobs and our lives and other things going on. So without further ado, we're gonna hop right in. So Sabrina, there's been a lot going on in the world today. I mean, what's something that you're keeping an eye on? What's something that interests you that's going on right now? Talk to me about some things that you're keeping an eye on.
So I don't know if it's something that I'm keeping my eye on, but it's something that caught my eye because it's something I don't understand, and when I don't understand something, I dig into it. And also, I know you understand the world of NFTs and crypto and all of that, but I don't. I think you gave me an analogy once about like the Mona Lisa or something and owning part of it.
Mhm.
I remember you telling me about that. So that did click with me. But something I keep my eye on, just because I know this guy, a little controversial, but I
You
love
know this?
Logan Paul.
Wait, you know him? You said you
Yeah,
know him.
I know him. I met him.
Okay, you know him. Got it.
But Logan Paul. So like for years I've watched his YouTube videos, saw his evolution through the ups and the downs and the comeback, and obviously we can dig more into it, but how cancel culture and being canceled and then the proper branding and marketing, how you can dig yourself out of it, which he did. Anyway, his new project is Liquid Market. Little promo there. But it's something that I completely don't understand. So basically, it's an online trading site where you can list physical sports cards. Again, something that I'm not really into, but like very rare Michael Jordan sports cards. Or you can list Pokemon cards and NFTs. And then you can become a part owner in that. And with the physical objects, you'll never be able to touch them. You'll never be able to actually hold them, take a picture with it, which is why I would do something to take a picture with it. You can just be a part owner in this, and then to sell it, you can sell your part or collectively decide with all the owners that you want to sell it, the whole thing. I just don't understand how they're marketing this. I mean, I understand there's a huge market for it and a lot of people are invested in NFTs and all of that, but I think the way they're branding it, since Logan Paul's name is carrying it, it's going to do well because he already has such a large fan base around the Pokemon cards and all that business. I just can't wrap my head around marketing something that you're never actually going to own. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, let's break the platform down
I know that was a
as the
lot.
first place. So no, it definitely is. So I think the first thing is, in order to make something like this, and I use an example of like think about an auction house. I think this is a great way to talk about it. Think about an auction house. Like the reality of it is the auction house owns a bunch of items and then they sell off the items in its entirety.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the full amount, and then you own the item and you get to take it home and it's yours and you can take pictures with it. As you said, is something that you would love to do is take pictures with things you collect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think the way certain collectibles, and you hear about all these NFTs and sports cards and other memorabilia going for multiple millions of dollars. I think that there is a market of people who would love to own something and say that they're an owner of something, but don't necessarily like don't have the money to own it right out. And I think it's the same way. I don't, people who invest, who buy stocks, they don't own they don't own Apple or
That's
own
fair.
Amazon or Tesla. They own a piece of it, right?
Yeah.
And they get an opinion around it. So I think it's a big about accessibility, which is interesting to me. And as the NFT market grows, it really brings in all different types of marketing and brand to kind of grow its popularity. I think the second part of this that you know has to be possible in order for to make it work is that you have to have collectibles to give. And Logan Paul has a ton of collectibles.
Mm-hmm.
So I imagine that he's one of the starters. Like he's put some of his stuff out there and decided to sell, 25%, 50% of some of his collectibles, which I know from the ones that he listed, I know those are his. So I think he has the opportunity to do those sorts of things and open it up to others, and then hopefully draw a little bit of um, traction and action as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never thought of it from the stock market's like point of view. But yeah, I think it makes sense for his brand just because he does those Pokemon unboxings and he gets like obviously an absurd amount of views. And then actually one of the cards he just listed was $5 million for a Pokemon card. So
Yeah, that's the Pikachu he wore around his neck at WrestleMania.
yeah, that's another thing. Like his whole brand just goes so many like different avenues, but they all make sense to him. So, anyways, I think that he overall is a genius in that sense. But even though I
Yeah,
don't
I think
understand.
I think this leads into, I mean, and the reason why you brought it up is obviously is how it trends to what we talk about today. I think this is
Mm-hmm.
the way people are market products and market themselves today. It's people are attracted to influencers per se, and I don't personally like the word influencer, but it's the standard term. I think that Logan Paul is a marketer at heart, and he's a brander, and people, like I said, like you said, it's controversial, but people can say what they want. But he is a good brand, and he provides entertainment, which is what we watch TV and YouTube and all sorts of things for. It's entertainment, and he's basically Logan Paul has accelerated himself recently, like in terms of what he's doing. He obviously released his sports drink. He has his clothing brand and this, and then there's just a lot of other things that he has going on. His obviously his podcast in different worlds. So it's interesting to see him accelerate and grow and advance himself. And also, I think you mentioned it, coming up from a low
Mm-hmm.
that he had, is come out of it as a positive voice and a positive being, which is I
Mm-hmm.
find is interesting. And there's gonna be a lot of people who listen to this who disagree with that, but
Oh,
I think that he is on the positive side of the fence now.
well, I think the way he came out of it was he took time, was very self-aware in what happened, and then honestly, he came out of it so well, like branding wise, that some people don't even remember it anymore or think about it. And I think that says a lot about how much he's changed his path.
It's interesting, and I'll just kind of segue into what I wanted to chat about. What I'm passionate about right now too. But it's very very similar in terms of topic. Um, but the Masters was this past weekend, and I'm a big golf guy, and I know that your input on this topic, Sabrina, may be limited, but you can actually talk about the other side.
Mhm.
Um, Tiger Woods played the Masters at 14 months after getting into a car accident where, number one, people are still unsure how he survived. He hit a tree going 105 miles an hour
I didn't know
with no
that.
contact to the brick. Yeah. This 14 months ago. And two, amputation of his leg was on the table. And he had to completely like learn how to walk and treat, teach himself how to move and that. So 14 months later, he's playing in the Masters again, and it was a pretty incredible thing to see. But also, it was the interesting what I found was the entire media coverage and influence around the Masters changed again, and it's all based on his brand. It's all based on the Tiger brand, who he is, what he's done for the game. It's He played well in the first round, but after that, he was just an average golfer, an average PGA golfer. Let me be clear, he wasn't. He didn't play like I do, average PGA golfer. But TSN, you know, our equivalent to ESPN in the US, just in case for our US listeners, um, literally had one of their channels that just followed him, or like his group around the course,
Oh my god.
and it's just crazy to think about that. So I don't know what your thoughts are on the whole Tiger Woods situation, but I'd love to get your opinion on that brand as a whole.
Well, I didn't know about the car accident. I obviously don't keep up with golf or anything, but I had no idea. But what I do think is very interesting on how different people's perspectives from different, obviously, audiences view Tiger Woods. Me, as a 23-year-old girl, I only know about his personal life because it has blown up on social media in the past. So my perspective is a little different. I have friends who follow Tiger Woods who are ride or die Tiger Woods fans, so I see them posting about it. But my opinion's a little more controversial, so I don't want to dive into it. Um, the extent of what I know, actually, I saw again some TikToks of him and his son in a tournament earlier this year.
Mhm.
That was adorable. I enjoyed that. That goes as far as my Tiger Woods knowledge. Um, I mean, I'm sure he's had a comeback because you don't hear about his past controversy anymore. But that's all I know about him is his past controversy and that he golfs now and he's old. That's it.
Old.
Old. Actually, how old
46.
is he?
Old. 46.
Oh yeah, it's up there.
I mean, grand scheme of things, and kind of what we're gonna dive in and talk about today is just brand and
Hmm.
what drives the importance of brand. So on that note, our pop culture banter come to an end today, Sabrina, and we can dive right into the rest of the podcast. All right, so today's main topic on the collab is really based, really springs well off of what we talked about with Logan Paul and Tiger Woods, and it's brand. So I guess Sabrina, well, how do you personally define brand?
So, how I personally define brand is the first place your head goes to when you think of a person, a place, a company, anything like that. So, whether it's colors associated with it, the way it makes you feel, a positive connotation with it, negative connotation with it, just immediately where your mind goes when you think of it.
A great definition, a great perspective, and one of the things that I find unique about the world we live in today is that your brand is your identity. It's who you are. It's what you do. It's what you believe in. It's where you live. It's all those sorts of things. The interesting part of brand today is how it can be built and how it can be broken down.
Hmm.
And I think that, like, if you go back years ago, let's just go with mid 2000s, 2005, 2006, 2007, those years pre mainstream social media, brand was developed based upon the commercials that were put on TV and the pictures that were put in magazines, and um, you were in full control as the entity of your brand. Everything you did and put out, you were in full control of. So if you use the example of Tiger Woods as an example, the way he spoke in interviews, the way he conducted himself, what he wore. When people think of Tiger Woods, they think wearing red on Sunday. I don't know if you think wearing red on Sunday at golf tournaments, but Sabrina, Tiger Woods always wears red shirts on Sunday in golf tournaments. It's his thing.
It's a terrible color.
Ouch. So maybe you are just going to say mean things in this podcast all the time. But no, he was in control of that narrative,
Hmm.
right? And I think now we live in a place where you're still in control of the narrative, but also
Mhm.
it's a slippery slope. And you mentioned cancel culture, and I don't think we need to dive
No.
uh, down the cancel culture rabbit hole, but it really comes down to, you're in control of it. So I guess let's start with this, Serena. In what ways do you think people, places, brand, companies can influence, grow, or impact their brand? Like, how do you think people go about that in
Mhm.
2022?
Mhm. I mean, I think in 2022, the options are limitless for brands to grow and hit different markets. So, we've all seen over the past 2 years, TikTok has blown up, and not just the traditional way of posting ads, but through influencers. I've been influenced through buying Celsius through the fitness TikToks I follow, and now I'm a Celsius, I would say, addict. But I think companies have a lot more options now in the sense that they can go through influencers to reach the demographics they want to reach. And I think it's also a very strategic process because the people that are promoting your products, it has to make sense to your brand. And this goes back to even just core values, and you're having your company values aligned and making sure those are aligned with the people that you're paying to promote your product. Because if it doesn't align, if the demographics don't align, then it just doesn't make sense. But I think that companies have far more reach now. And yes, they might have lost their direct line. The messaging might get lost a bit, but I think having perspective, so having these influencers market the products the way they know that their audience wants to receive the product, and changing the messaging isn't always a bad thing, because they know how their audience thinks. So someone who would influence me, clothing, I get influenced all the time on Instagram by girls promoting products, using discount codes, because
Mhm.
they'll show the outfits how they would wear it. That affects me. So
Yeah,
I think companies in 2022, the options are limitless.
yeah, that's a great point. I want to go back to something you said, and this is where my head goes when in terms of brand.
Mm-hmm.
And you mentioned core values. Um, I think that I don't want to use the propaganda, might be a strong word for the way brands used to market themselves before, but like I said, you were in control before of every aspect, and I think that with brand today, it's so important for you to understand who your company is, or who you are as a person, what you believe in, and make sure the people that you are discussing that, your product with, understand that as well. Because if at any time you try to misrepresent yourself in the public eye, you will get exposed.
Mm-hmm.
And you see influencers, the top people all the time, like say that they turn down millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars for brand deals because they don't align with the values of the company that they were going to promote. And I think, I know, I'm big on self-awareness, but I think self-awareness as a brand is really important. That way you can have the appropriate growth pathway, and find the influencers, or find the media outlet, or the way to approach it, in terms of who you are, and go about that. The other thing I wanted to add onto the brand conversation is, I think on the core value part, like if your core values are true and are honest, and are honorable, and are of high quality, I think that you can go through a negative spell in your you know in your life. We all make mistakes. We mentioned the Tiger Woods thing. That was in 2009. That was 13 years ago, right? People change, and people can grow their brand in other way, and come back from things like that. And I think it's the same with the companies. If your core values and your true values, I don't know Tiger Woods personally, so I can't comment specifically on whether or not he's a good or a bad person, but um, him and Logan Paul and others who are in the pop culture eye, or companies like Apple and Tesla and Google and Amazon and all those places, if their core values aren't in a certain place, they're going to get exposed and going to get found out, and eventually that's going to lead to their demise, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it's so important to align with people who have matching core values.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, on that note, Sabrina, when we talk about companies
Mm-hmm.
and their branding, I guess companies are represented in a few different ways in the public eye. So different ways that you can consume a product or buy a product, like you mentioned, discount codes, influencers on TikTok, Instagram, and other places. That's number one. Number two, you can just go direct to their website because you're looking for something and you go to their website and you buy it. So that's an interaction with their brand. And then the third one I always think about, and maybe it's a little less than it used to be, but is retail.
Mm-hmm.
And retail, and if you think about big box retailers, not necessarily like, you know, an Apple store where those are all Apple employees. If you think about big box retailers, let's think Best Buy, Dick's Sporting Goods, Sport Check, think places like that.
Mm-hmm.
I go into Dick's Sporting Goods. I want to buy golf clubs. I'm going to stay on the golf. I'm going to buy, TaylorMade golf clubs. Somebody in that store who does not work for TaylorMade is going to sell me those clubs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I want your opinion on that person and you know, how you view them. Do you view them as a brand ambassador? Do you view them someone who's just, you know, making suggestions? Like, how do you view that person? And do you think that person, is an influencer in the world we live in?
Oh, I 100% think that they're an influencer, and I sometimes forget about that. But you're going to that person to learn about. I'm gonna do. So I bought skis. Went to Sports Track. I did have a brand that I wanted to get them from, and the person's knowledge, the way they talk about it, also many different brands within Sports Check that person could have recommended, and how they learn about that brand is going to be the way they sell it. And they are an influencer. Do they talk about it positively? Do they talk about it negatively? A lot of them are brutally honest too. They'll be like, "Oh, this brand just is not that great. Why do they think that?" So I think the person's knowledge on the brand influences the way they market it and the way that they are an ambassador for it. I think from a company's point of view, the companies that are within Sports Check, the way they're reaching those sales associates is really important because it's the way that they're going to communicate it to the customer. So yeah, they're definitely an influencer. They're talking to you in person, one on one. That's probably the most intimate sale experience you're going to get. Influencers, they're reaching everyone. Ads, it's a grab at who you reach through the internet. But they're
Mhm.
definitely, I would argue, probably your most influential ambassador because they're speaking to you in person.
Yeah, I think it's from marketing and branding perspective, you see the statistic that people are 70% more likely to purchase a product that is recommending, um, you know, that is recommended by a family, a friend, or a trusted person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think inherently, when you walk into a retail store, you inherently trust the person that works there to be able to talk to you about the product.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all been through the experience. I mean, I know, when Christmas time rolls around and I need to go somewhere and buy candles or you know, lotions or whatever I need to do for my wife or my mom or whoever, I walk into the store and I say, "Somebody help me, please." And I trust those people to tell me what I should buy. And they see a big, sucker slapped on my forehead. But
They see
um,
money.
I, yeah, exactly. But I inherently trust them
Mm-hmm.
to guide me in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think as I mentioned, people are 70% more likely. They almost have double the influence to buy a product if someone they trust recommends it. And as I mentioned, they inherently trust somebody in a store to tell them. So, you walked in looking for a certain brand, but the second that person selling you the skis said, "No, you know what, you should look at this brand," you immediately said like, "Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna look at that brand."
100%.
And I think it's so important to educate them appropriate, make sure that they're giving the right information to the public, and no different than if you're going to have an influencer on Instagram or TikTok talk about your product either, but making sure that those people in those three areas, so your website, your marketing, speak honestly, true to your core values, and direct, positively. Number two, if you're going to the social media route and you're using third parties to promote your brand, that they align with your core values and they're speaking positively and on brand and on point to who you are. And then third, in that retail brick and mortar space, that everybody you have in your store is speaking true to your core values, trust your brand, and want to be an ambassador of it or recommend it over others in the store. And I think that putting all of those things together and all the customer touch points allows you to build a true brand of who you are um, in person. And then obviously, all the different forms of marketing and media we can go into as well. But I think putting those all together builds that collective 360 vision of your brand and who you are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, while you're talking through that, I know in the old podcast, we would talk about it all the time, like coming up with your clear objectives, your clear values, and all of that. And you can really see how, from at a company level, if your values and what you're trying to sell isn't clear, it'll just snowball and snowball down into a message that you don't want to get across. So, coming up with it at the core just makes the whole process easier for everyone.
All right. Well, Sabrina and I, we're both visionaries. We both forward thinking. We like to look to the positive. We always have something we're chasing and looking forward to. So every time we record this podcast, I think we're looking at bi-weekly, but we could just get excited and maybe record weekly. Who knows, Sabs?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to finish off every podcast and talk a little bit about something we're looking forward to in our lives. Sometimes it could be crazy as Masters weekend coming up, and could be as simple as that. Sometimes it could be the fact that I get to golf every Friday afternoon. In other weeks, it could be crazy and big and ambitious, and who knows. So, Sabrina, I will let you start on the inaugural collab podcast. What are you looking forward to right now?
Okay. Well, honored I get to go first. Look at this. I have two things, and I think one of ours is going to be the same. But the first thing is that it's Easter weekend. And in my house, Easter weekend is a big celebration. We do Saturdays with one side, Sunday with one side. So we're ordering food from the Fogalar, and we're just having a whole family day, which doesn't get to happen often because now my family's older. It's harder to get all together at the same time, but I'm really excited for some quality family time with my cousins, my nonas, everyone. And then part two, we're traveling.
Yeah, we
We're
are.
traveling back on the road.
Yeah, a little business trip coming up.
A quick little business trip to San Diego. I'm a big California girl. I absolutely love California. I'm really lucky with what we do that I get to go on these work trips, experience some travel while also business. And I don't think we can say, obviously, can't say much about it, but I'm very excited for a trip. We're meeting up with Scott. It's just going to be great. So
That's true.
productive.
Going to be a good trip. Pretty excited for it myself. Looking forward to it. So
Mhm.
I like that. Easter weekends always. I love family time, and this isn't what I'm looking forward to specifically, but my niece Selma, my brother's daughter,
Yeah.
actually turns 1 on Easter Sunday. So it's going to be just a family affair this weekend. I'm pretty excited. Um, I feel like I'm going to look forward to this for the next 6 weeks. So, but I'm going to say it now because it's the first one. I am expecting my second daughter in May, and it is going to be. I'm pretty excited about it. It should be a great experience. Obviously, I'm obsessed. Sabrina can attest to that with my
Yes.
daughter Oakley
Yeah.
and everything about her. And I'm looking forward to being a girl dad through and through and welcoming number 2. So another Mendoza girl entering the world, and we're looking forward to it in our house. And
Can I?
also slightly terrified.
No, it's so exciting. Girl, dad. Also, can I just say how cool it is that the last podcast you started when Oakley was born, so she can go back and listen to all the also all the positivity points from that. And now we're starting this when your second is about to be. That's kind of crazy. That's kind of cool for them. So,
No, that is pretty cool. I'm sure Oakley will love to listen to If You Build It, Will They Learn. I'm sure she'll just
oh,
be so enthused. All right, that's it for us this week. That was the collab round 1. We're looking forward to coming back, and hopefully, if you want, Halite Media on all social medias is where you can reach us, and we'll link any specifics to the podcast there. And if you have questions, comments, thoughts, or pop culture trends you want to join, or even guests. You want to be a
Yes.
guest? You think we should try to get a guest? Let us know. We're looking forward to making this a pretty exciting podcast to hop into for the modern marketer. So looking forward to next time, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye, everyone.